their lumber yard, and it's really kind of special to me that he had a blacksmith shop because I love horses. So that's kind of ironic on its own. But I just thank you very much to please consider. Do not want this house to be changed. I do not want this house to be torn down. It is a big part of Louisville, and it has Steinbach name to it. And I love it. It is home. So that's about all I have to say. If anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions?
I appreciate the enthusiasm for preserving houses in Louisville, and certainly the Steinbach family has had a long, prominent role here, and that you want to participate in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, your excitement is very encouraging to us. It makes us, just reminds us why we do this. So thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. I appreciate you guys so much because Old Town means so much to me. You know, it breaks my heart, and I know I can't control a lot of it, but I do know this home is very important, and it is, the name stands behind it as well.
We also have 3 empty seats if you would like to be on the HPC, but that's another side
Really?
conversation. But yes, if you
Well,
were,
know what? I was on, at one time did serve on a board, so I might consider it.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
this is wonderful. I mean, just this, I've talked to Kim, and she has been fabulous. Oh my gosh. I told her when she came back to speak to me that she has filled me on everything so well, and you can just see the enthusiasm that she has and how much she loves this, and I can see it with all of you as well. So I think I could fit right into that role pretty well.
Yeah, you can talk to Kim or City Council or Meredith, or we'll get you
Fantastic.
get you some more
Thank you.
information. Yeah.
That would be an honor. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Any other questions before we bring it back? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we don't have any public, so we'll bring it back for discussion. I think this obviously meets our criteria as being 50 years or older, strong architectural integrity, and strong social significance. So I feel like there's not a whole lot of discussion, but it's a great location as far as prominence for just our program, and it's a great house. So any other comments?
I agree. When I was reading what Bridget put together from the Historical Society about this house, how it was at one point the last house on Pine Street, you can kind of see that I drive west on Pine very frequently and know this house, and you can tell a transition. It was nice to read about that and kind of feel that, and this is a great house to preserve. So I agree that it meets all of the criteria and is a really strong candidate for this program. So thank you again for bringing it forward to us.
Yeah, obviously there was some effort to sort of change the style at one point with the half timbering look and the stucco, but really, I guess things are done over time, and it doesn't change the basic integrity of the building. And for all we know, people might want to, have it more in the original style at some point. It's kind of stylistic, and it doesn't really hinder that much the historical accuracy of it. And I think beyond what you and Bridget wrote, the Steinbachs had a really strong history in that part of town. A lot of the houses close by there were built by Jack Steinbach, so kind of separate from the smithy and the hardware store. He was also a builder who built a lot of stuff. I guess this was earlier than his generation, but that family had an outsized influence in Louisville.
So does anyone like to make a motion? Or do you have something else to say? Were you going to say something else? Okay.
I'll make a motion to I'll make a motion to accept 701 McKinley Avenue for probable cause determination.
And we'll do a roll call, please.
Chair Haley,
Yes.
Commissioner Berg,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap,
Yes.
Commissioner Keller.
All right, so, and then Kim will just proceed as far as the next steps and get the historic structural assessment and just go from there. So if you have any questions or anything, feel free to just email or call. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming tonight. Yay!
Thank you.
Hi. All right, so next is items from staff. So our landmark.
Thank you, Chair Haley. Yep, I just have, I don't have a slide for this. So just as a general for the public meeting as well as for us, so June 28th, which would be next Tuesday, starting at 6:30, would be, is the date we selected for the plaque ceremony. We have them all. They look great, so this is awesome. We have, as a reminder, we have 4 right now to give out. So we have 501 Jefferson, 841 Jefferson, 928 Lafarge, and 701 Grant. There we go, off the top of my head. So as of right now, I have 3 yeses. Looks like one person hopefully can come, but they might still be out of town. And so at this point, the map would look that we would, barring any last-minute cancellations, but we would start at 501 Jefferson, and I'll send a follow-up and advertise it that way. And then we'll just kind of come north from them, since they're the kind of the furthest south.
Will we do the one that's not there anyway?
I was thinking we could.
Okay.
And then as
Yeah.
long as the commission feels that's fine, we could still say a few words and take some photos, and then I can give it to them at a later date. So I'm hoping, they're hopeful that they can come as well. They just might still be gone. So yeah, I'd be more, I think we could totally do that. Plus, it's 928 Lafarge is the folks who may or may not be able to come, and we'll be right there at 841 Jefferson, so it wouldn't be too far.
And obviously, if they are like, we really want to be there, that's fine too. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
And would the commission want to just do another date if they really wanted to be there on a separate date? And we could do, kind of like we did last summer, and just do another one, promote it? Okay.
I'd be okay with that. Does anyone else feel differently? Yeah.
I'll let you know what they decide. They told me it might be a little bit closer, so hopefully I'll hear soon, since it's about a week from today or so. So, great. So, and I'll send out a map like I did last time, and then, so we kind of know where to go. But we'll all meet at 501 Jefferson, starting at 6:30. Cool?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right.
And if you decide to landmark, we do a plaque ceremony where we come to your house and like present it and have a little ribbon cutting and everything. So it's pretty sweet. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I stick all the bronze plaques in my backpack, and I get a good workout.
She gets her,
I get a good
her
workout.
weight training. All right. And then any updates from commissioners?
Does that count, include questions about like where we're at and? Okay. Well, we obviously have several things like Kim's transition and where we're at and what will be our staffing and support. Are there events that we've planned? I'm asking some broad questions since I missed the last meeting, and there was some talk about manning street fairs or things like that, or the farmers market. The projects we have, we've kind of had some discussion of, and maybe that's a subcommittee issue. But I think I've had some questions about the progression from probable cause to landmarking, and how many homes have made it through there, and how difficult that is. Because I love the enthusiasm of the people who come here and want to have their home be part of historic Louisville, yet it's hard for people to get through to the eventual landmarking stage. And Keith and I have talked about that a little bit, since he's been all the way through it, and I'm kind of in the process of that. I think we need to have a discussion at some point if there are stumbling blocks to doing that. Finding architects to help with the historic structural assessment, and, you know, whatever else happens along the way. Pretty broad, but.
Yeah, I actually had a question too about the process, because I know originally you could come and landmark, just decide you want to landmark, but it sounds like a lot of applicants now automatically do the probable cause, but you don't have to, right? You could go straight to landmarking if you wanted. Am I wrong on that?
It was my reading since I began that the probable cause was required to be first. It's, you know,
Okay.
it's definitely, the HSA is a document that's definitely required for grant, you know, allocation. But it was my reading and my guidance that it was probable cause, then landmarking.
Oh, okay. Because for some reason, originally, like, we made the probable cause an option if people were skeptical, or not skeptical, but just wanted to explore landmarking. But if they were like, we want to landmark, they could go straight to landmarking. But if they wanted probable cause, it was a kind of a easy way, a non-committal way where we get the HSA as a city, and then they get, and then they can just have a more educated decision. So that was just, I was talking to a friend about the process, and she had looked into it a little bit and was like, oh, I think like it's probable cause and then landmarking. And so I was like, oh, I thought there was an option.
So I'll give a third option, or a third understanding, and I'd have to read the code. I don't know the answer for sure, but my understanding is the HSA is necessary for the grants, but not to landmark. So you could landmark without the HSA, but you have to have an HSA to get grants. There might be some exceptions to that, I don't know, but we could definitely look into it
Right,
and
and
make
that's
sure
my
that,
understanding
make sure it's
too.
clear that if you don't want to do the HSA for some reason, you can landmark.
Right.
I'm not sure why it would be necessary for landmarking, but it definitely helps with the grant process.
Right. And then you could always landmark and then do your HSA, because you'd still be
Yeah.
qualified for the HSA even if you chose not to apply for a grant. But anyway, that was just something that I'm glad you brought that up, because that was something that I noticed in a conversation the
Yeah,
other day.
it just seems that we've had a lot of enthusiasm about starting on the preservation process, but fewer structures being taken clear through the process to being landmarked. And I know, at least unofficially, some of the architects who are on the list to help with HSAs don't have enough time in their schedules now. That might be acute because of the fires in Louisville and all sorts of reasons, but you know, maybe I'd like us to maybe offline somehow take a look at that and see if we can make that flow better. Yeah. I don't know if that becomes a subcommittee of its own for discussion, or.
Well, I think unless staff finds something in the code where I'm wrong about that too, like, I mean, that's something we could just, as far as the process, is that what you're saying, like,
Well,
or you're just trying to get momentum?
yeah, I guess like Rob says, people could go directly from a probable cause to landmarking, but I think realistically, people would want to have at least the basic grant for doing that, because it affects property values to do this, and I would just understand that they would want to do that. So that then means that there is an HSA required, and it isn't simple.
But our hearing tonight, they very well may have just landmarked, and then they don't have to make a second meeting. I mean, that's the other benefit, is they
Sure.
don't have to come
Yeah.
to another public hearing to actually get it officially landmarked. So I think there's plenty of people too that might be more open to not having to do the whole process
Yeah.
if it's multiple
Well,
months and stuff. But I understand what you're saying too.
I guess if we're unclear on it, applicants might be as well.
But I think we could probably clear it up pretty easily if, as long as there's nothing in the code that says we can't just go straight to landmarking. Does that make
Yeah, I
sense?
think it'd be a good idea to let us research that and come back with really specific answers so everybody's on the same page
And
at the
that's-
next meeting.
Right, and that's what I
Yeah.
was saying versus,
Okay,
because
that's
he
a
was
good
asking
idea.
if we needed like a subcommittee, and I was like, I think if staff does some exploration and just figure it out first, and then
Yeah.
we can either change and figure stuff out, or we can say, oh, code says we're good, so we can start doing it that way.
As
That's
you
good
know,
feedback.
I've long been interested in the statistics of, which houses come before us to be demolished and which ones make application, but also it'd be good to know how many applied for probable cause and actually made it through to being landmarked. Yeah, that would be a good metric to have.
Or how many didn't, like how many
Right.
did probable cause, did their HSA, and
And
then.
why.
And why, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a whole other survey, but we could at least know how
Yeah.
many. Yeah, and the survey would be interesting too, I'm not saying it wouldn't, because I think that would be very helpful.
Okay. And do you have any news on your successor?
I can't speak to it, but I will say that it's me until in the interim, as long as that is. So
May-
if it makes it to next month, I'll be your staff liaison as well.
I probably shouldn't even ask yet, that's kind of internal.
No, that's okay. Yeah, it's a good question. We're doing interviews. We did 2 interviews this week. We'll do 1 interview next week. So we have 3 candidates we're interviewing right now. So if things go well, maybe in a few weeks, we'll have someone who's interested in the job,
Right.
knock on wood.
I realize it's a tough time for the planning department. I can't imagine it being more difficult than from the last 6 months. Thanks. Do, you asked me about participating in the coloring book project, and who are my co-members?
So that'd be you and I.
Okay.
It was Andrea and I. So
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to have you aboard.
Okay.
And I think where we were left off, we had permission from Satya to use one of her drawings at the Historical Museums. We did a few weeks back. And I think we're just waiting for some more drawings from her, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it's either, we have 3, have we looked at? So she's got a couple more to us more recently. As you remember, she kind of had some health scare at the beginning of the year. So she's back at it. I believe we've gotten 2 more subsequent to the first one. And then we've been giving her a lot of photos and the histories, since they're all landmarked properties as we chose. So we have all the write-ups for them. So we've been giving her kind of, not all at once, but trickling in all the information. So she has kind of context history as well as photos. She took photographs when some of us went out and walked around right before right at the end of the December. So she's kind of got those. So I think we have 3 finalized drawings so far, and then and she's working on some other ones. But we do have the permission to her that if we wanted to use them in the interim prior to them all being complete, we certainly can. So.
But we can talk later as a subcommittee.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks.
All right. I know too, we had talked about doing a separate meeting about, what was that?
It's called the unique circumstances that come up.
Oh, and, I just lost the,
The ones that, when Gary first started, you had several of these, it's not called unique circumstances.
The extraordinary circumstances.
yeah, it's extraordinary. I'm
circumstances.
like, what's
Right,
that word?
So we're going to have a kind of discussion about that.
We had talked about that, but, I mean, with all the planning movement and all that kind of stuff, I don't know where that falls right now, but that's also on our,
Maybe
Kind
it's best to wait for the new
Right.
representative.
yeah. So, yeah. And then we'll also just make sure that our kind of running list of things that we're working on too gets passed on. You know, I'm talking about the memo that has like the running list of,
Right, the items that this, I think it was late winter, we all looked at and gave input into, and right, you sent the memo and we agreed to it. So I think we do have a prioritized order of things we're working on, including the coloring book, including the extraordinary circumstances. But right, with her change in personnel, to revisit that with that person.
yeah. So hopefully it'll be a quick turnover, but we'll see. We'll just have to be flexible as we've learned to do over the past couple years. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That list would probably be worth attaching to the monthly agenda, too. It
Yeah,
is
that's a good
sort of
idea.
equivalent to the staff agenda. It's our commission of agenda as well.
Anything else?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've reached our adjourn items. If someone would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you again.